Every mammal on Earth produces tears, but only one species cries when its heart breaks. When a dog steps on a thorn, its eyes water to flush out the irritant. When a horse gets dust in its cornea, the lacrimal glands activate. It is a mechanical response, a biological rinse cycle, designed for protection, designed for survival. But when you sit alone in a quiet room and a wave of grief hits you, something entirely different happens. Your vision blurs, your chest tightens, your breath catches, and water spills over your eyelids, not to clean your eyes, not to shield your vision, to signal something deeper, something that has no equivalent in the rest of the animal kingdom. Scientists call them psychic tears, and they are chemically distinct from the tears you shed when chopping onions or blinking in the wind. Basal tears lubricate, reflex tears protect, emotional tears communicate. In the 1980s, biochemist William Frey conducted a series of studies that isolated the exact composition of human emotional tears. What he found changed how researchers understood crying. Emotional tears contain significantly higher concentrations of adrenocorticotropic hormone, prolactin, manganese, and natural painkillers like leucine and cephalin. Your body is literally weeping out stress chemistry. It is a physiological purge, but the biological function is only half the story. The real mystery isn't why we produce them, it's why evolution kept them. Think about the cost of crying. In the wild, blurred vision means vulnerability. Heavy breathing draws attention. A sobbing human is an easy target for predators or rival groups. By every standard metric of survival, emotional tears should have been selected against. They should have disappeared millions of years ago. Weakness doesn't survive on the savannah. Exposure doesn't win evolutionary games. And yet, they didn't vanish. They became more complex, more frequent, more deeply wired into the human nervous system. Something else is going on. To understand how this happened, you have to look at what happens to the body the moment tears fall. Within minutes of crying, your parasympathetic nervous system activates, your heart rate slows, your breathing deepens. The chemical cocktail in emotional tears acts as a natural sedative, forcing the body out of fight or flight and into recovery. But the sedation isn't just for you, it's for everyone watching. Researchers studying nonverbal communication have found that the sight of human tears triggers an immediate empathetic response in observers. It bypasses logic. It shortcuts the brain's threat assessment. When we see someone cry, our mirror neurons fire. Our own stress levels drop. We lean in. We soften. Evolution didn't design tears to hide pain. It designed them to broadcast it. Now here's the important part. This signal only works because humans developed something no other animal has. The cognitive capacity to link internal emotional states with external physical signals. Elephants mourn. They touch the bones of their dead. They stand vigil for days. They return to burial sites years later, but they don't weep. Chimpanzees feel grief. They withdraw. They stop eating. They stare into the middle distance, but they don't cry. The neural bridge between the limbic system and the lacrimal gland simply doesn't exist in other species. In humans, it is wired directly into the anterior cingulate cortex, the part of the brain that processes social pain, empathy, and abstract loss. In other animals, distress stays internal. In humans, it leaks out. This sounds like a design flaw. Why would survival depend on a mechanism that makes you weaker? But early humans didn't survive by being the strongest. They survived by being the most connected. A lone hominid on the open plains didn't last long. A tribe that could rapidly synchronize emotion did. Tears became a biological handshake, a costly signal. In evolutionary biology, a costly signal is a trait that is only viable because it proves you can afford the cost. A peacock's tail attracts predators. A human's tears attract attention. But that attention isn't always danger. It's coordination. It's care. It's the rapid mobilization of group resources toward a single, vulnerable individual. When you cry, you are broadcasting a message that requires no translation. I am overwhelmed. I need support. The tribe responds. The bond strengthens. The group survives. And then something shifted. The signal stopped being just about distress. It began marking positive extremes as well. Joy, relief, awe. The same physiological pathway that processes sorrow also processes overwhelming beauty. Your body doesn't distinguish between the pain of losing someone and the shock of holding your newborn. It only recognizes intensity. When the emotional load exceeds the brain's capacity to process it in silence, the pressure valve opens. The tears fall. Anthropologists have documented this across cultures. Wedding tears, reunion tears, tears at the summit of a mountain, tears when hearing a piece of music that feels too large to comprehend. We tend to view crying as a loss of control, but the data suggests the opposite. It is the nervous system recalibrating. It is the body's way of saying that the moment matters enough to break through the noise. Some researchers go further. They point out that the frequency of emotional crying varies wildly across cultures and individuals, but the underlying trigger remains constant: perceived helplessness in the face of something meaningful. When we cannot fix it, when we cannot fight it, when we can only witness it, the tears appear. They are not a surrender. They are an acknowledgement. Cross-cultural studies show that societies with higher levels of social cohesion actually cry more frequently, not less. Isolation breeds stoicism. Connection breeds release. The tears aren't a sign of fragility. They're a sign of attachment. Think about that for a second. The same mechanism that helped ancient tribes bond around a fire is what makes you cry at a funeral, or a graduation, or a documentary about animals returning to the wild. We carry this ancient signaling system into a world that often tells us to suppress it. We're taught that crying is unprofessional, that it's immature, that it's something to hide behind closed doors. But the biology tells a different story. The nervous system doesn't care about modern etiquette. It cares about homeostasis. It cares about connection. When you hold tears in, you're not building resilience. You're trapping cortisol. You're denying your body its oldest reset mechanism. The neurological pathway is precise. Emotional distress activates the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus signals the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic system routes the signal to the lacrimal nuclei in the brainstem. The glands release fluid loaded with stress hormones and endorphins. The act of crying literally changes your blood chemistry. Studies measuring participants before and after emotional crying sessions show marked reductions in manganese levels, lowered blood pressure, and increased feelings of calm within 20 minutes. It isn't catharsis in the poetic sense. It's catharsis in the physiological sense. Your body is performing maintenance, and yet we still treat it like a glitch. We apologize for it. We wipe it away quickly. We step into bathrooms to finish the job alone. But the evolutionary record doesn't support privacy. It supports proximity. Early humans didn't cry in isolation. They cried in circles. They cried while holding hands. They cried while carrying the dead. The tears were never meant to be private. They were meant to be shared. That's why the sound of someone else crying triggers such a visceral response in us. It's not discomfort. It's recognition. Your nervous system hears the signal and remembers its purpose. We are built to respond. We are built to gather. There is a version of this question that science will eventually answer more precisely. The tools are getting better. Neuroimaging of the crying brain, cross-cultural studies of emotional regulation, more rigorous tracking of oxytocin spikes during shared grief. The data will accumulate. Some of what is currently poetic will become physiological, but the researchers who study this most carefully hold the question open. We may never fully quantify what it feels like to finally let go, what it is to sit in the quiet after the storm breaks, whether the tears are just chemistry, or whether we find meaning in them because we are also animals, running pattern recognition. And the pattern we keep finding is each other. The honest answer to why humans are the only animals that cry emotional tears is that we are the only animals that built civilizations on shared vulnerability. We traded armor for empathy. We traded isolation for connection. And the water that falls from your eyes is the physical residue of that trade. It carries the stress hormones out. It brings the observers in. It turns private pain into public bond. It reminds you that you were never meant to carry it alone.